To quote the plot line from IMDb, the story for Batman is the Caped Crusader battles evildoers in Gotham City in a bombastic 1960s parody of the comic book hero's exploits. Let's start off with the obvious, shall we? It is cheesy, silly, campy, over the top, and at times has bad special effects. However, there are some good things in this series to enjoy. When watching it, yes, it is more for kids. It is colorful, has those onomatopoeias that appear when someone gets hit during fight scenes, has easy to understand morals, and is just fun to watch. As an adult watching it, you pick up on the other things. You see the continuing thread of sexual tension between Catwoman and Batman, the adult jokes, the parody elements of the comic book superhero, and, you get to enjoy having to watch it and spend time with the family. Also, you see the innocence of it, which is why both children and adults back in the day liked the series. Back in the 1960s, we were in the middle of the Vietnam War. There were riots and protests in the streets. There was also a civil rights movement going on at the time. So, in a way, there was a dark period, and it was hard to distinguish who is right and wrong, and from the bad people from the good people. Even today, it is hard to distinguish bad from good and right from wrong. What this show does is remind us and harken back to the times when things were more black and white and easier to distinguish between the two different sides. The costumes are well designed and fit the character and even tell a story and give a status or rank depending on the character. For instance, the villain character, King Tut. This villain believes he is the reincarnation of the Pharaoh King, and just dresses in such a fashion that, and you can just tell by the way he dresses, he is a king, or he believes he's a king. His clothes are made of the best quality. It is not rags or sewn together pieces to make it look like in his mind he is kingly, but he actually looks like a kingly attire because of the material it's made from. Even the henchmen and women wear great costumes to fit whom they are serving and what the theme of the crime that the main villain is trying to commit. During the first two seasons, the sets made in the studio are just grand, elaborate, and colorful, and fit both the character of the villain and or the theme of the crime. They are fun and very beautiful to look at. By season 3, however, due to the low budget, the sets became short or even bare bones. When it is bare bones, it is just a black stage with only key set pieces like a wall or a table or even an archway and or a door. It gives this kind of theatrical look to it, as sets do in plays, but after 2 seasons of these grand sets, it's just kind of a letdown. Even though the villains are played down to be safe for kids, they are still enjoyable. The plots they have are silly, yes, but the actors performing them are energetic, maniacal, take the role seriously and sometimes not seriously, and they're just full of glee that you can see that they had fun playing these roles and that emanates to the audience, and they have fun watching it too. There are at least 2 times actors who play villains are replaced for one reason or another. In 2 episodes, John Astin played the role of the Riddler instead of Frank Gorshin. Frank Gorshin is the better. He was more maniacal, crazy, and just fun. His laugh is even great. John Astin is just eccentric. His Riddler doesn't have much going for him, but it is still fun to watch. In several episodes of Season 3, Julie Newmar did not play Catwoman. Instead, Eartha Kitt played the role. I actually have no problems with either actress in this role. Both are great. It just depends on how you think the character should be portrayed or how you liked their performance. Eartha Kitt is more of an alley cat and has this great purr that is very exciting and even tantalizing. I prefer Julie Newmar. Her Catwoman is more of a house cat, very seductive, playful, innocent, and at times can be threatening. Her purr is more seductive and playful, and at the same time, and just her smile is nice. She just looks beautiful. The series is designed after the Batman movie serials of the 1930s and 40s, where an episode ends on a cliffhanger. Again, the cliffhangers and resolutions at the beginning of the next episodes and the ends are silly and cheesy, but fun and funny. The cliffhangers only get tiring during Season 3, when it is every episode. In Seasons 1 and 2, it is only 1 or 2 episodes that have cliffhangers, but once the story is resolved, the episode that has the end just ends on a happy tone. Season 3 had a cliffhanger on every episode to try and get the audience to come back and watch the next episode. Since ratings were falling by the end of Season 2 and Season 3 saw the lowest ratings, it just got annoying and the cliffhangers just felt cheap. It just didn't help them at all. However, in Season 3 we saw Batgirl introduced. This is one of their attempts to keep the show interesting during Season 3. This Batgirl is actually Barbara Gordon, the Commissioner's daughter. The actress Yvonne Craig played a very spunky, strong, and intelligent Barbara and Batgirl. She even saved the day a few times and helped Batman and Robin. She was a very good model for women and girls. However, there's only one problem I had with her, and that is her fighting. She doesn't really throw a punch. She'll just grab something and whack somebody with it, but will not throw a punch. And when she moves around, it's more of like a twirl as it prances about. And the only type of fighting she does is just kick. She'll either stand or sit on a table and kick, or Batman and Robin will lift her up like a ballerina, and then she kicks. Even when Catwoman is a villain, the main villain, Catwoman doesn't fight. Or even when she had a henchwoman, that she didn't fight either. And this is all because the social standard at that time is that women don't know how to fight or just don't fight at all. Speaking of social standards, this is something that came up. There's an episode about a feminist taking over Gotham City and giving all the jobs to women. And by the end of the episode, it shows that women can't do the job of men. I interpret this episode as a joke about the feminist right movement and not mocking it or trying to insult it, for Batgirl is in it and helps save the day. And the villain is also a woman, so I believe it is done in good humor. Now, whether or not it was taken as a joke or not, if it offended anyone, I don't know. The episode is called Nora Clavicle and the Ladies Crime Club. If you can find out about how the audience reacted to it, let me know in the comments below. If you remember seeing the episode and remember how you felt or someone else felt about it, please let me know. Set it in the comments. It's just driving me nuts not knowing how this was taken. I don't know why. I'm sure it was taken as a joke, for it was made at a time when something like this would have been taken in good humor, but you really never know unless you ask or research, and I couldn't find anything in research. To round this up, the entire series is enjoyable and fun to watch, even as an adult. I give this series 4 stars out of 5. The joke was over by the end of Season 3. It was cancelled and shunned. Only in 1989-90 it resurfaced because of the Tim Burton Batman film, and everyone was looking for everything and anything Batman to exploit. It was still shunned, but a little bit celebrated, but it was also accepted, for old fans rewatched it and enjoyed it, but also enjoyed it with their kids and new fans emerged. Around that time, I started watching it and loved it, and like any kid, took it seriously and didn't notice the campiness until later. When I grew older and took superheroes and comic books more seriously, I too shunned it until years later when I rewatched the series and film and picked up on those little things and loved it and enjoyed it. And I actually recommend it to people to watch at it, to laugh at it, and enjoy. Especially if they have kids, for this series is a great way to introduce children to Batman, and not only Batman, but just comic book superheroes or comic books in general. And then they will eventually graduate to the more serious adaptations of comic books and graphic novels. And if you really look at it, this just goes to show that a superhero has great respect and admiration by the fans, and it shows their strength if the character can survive something like this and have it celebrated and loved at the hero's 75th anniversary. As this, I think I only have a couple minutes left, so I'd like to throw in a couple of facts about this series. There's a couple of interesting facts. This series brought us 2 things to the comic books. In the comic books before the 60s, the character of Mr. Freeze was known as Mr. Zero, in reference to, Sub-Zero or Zero Below. When they put the character in the TV series, the 60s TV series, they changed the name to Mr. Freeze. That's what they did in the TV show, and that was brought over to the comic books. And Batgirl? Batgirl was already in the comic books, but she was something different. Around the 50s, this psychiatrist, many of you know the story, Frederick Wertham, wrote a book called Seduction of the Innocent that kind of blamed everything on comic books around the time, and he kind of claimed that Batman and Robin were homosexuals. So that to save Batman, they put in a Batwoman and Batgirl for them, and Ace the Hound. By the 60s, they were trying to get rid of all this, but but the producer of the series saw Batgirl. Was like, let's put her in the TV series, except let's make her, instead of just some random girl or something or related to Batwoman, let's make her Commissioner Gordon's daughter and call her Barbara. And so that went into the series, and then eventually went into the comic books. So even if some of you still shun the TV series, you can be thankful that two of the greatest things that happened in the comic book series is actually because of this series. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time when I review the 1966 Batman film. See you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.